you're a business administration major, or that's what you plan to do. And Bob, I'm going to invite you to turn your camera on now. Bob has been, I think he's a self-declared serial entrepreneur, I think is what he called himself. And Bob, I just for a second wanted to put up this slide because in doing my research for your 50 for 50 article, came across some great vintage photos of you. And that is one there. And you saw a couple of the other ones, but just thought we'd share that you indeed did wear the LBCC jersey there, and thought you'd get a kick out of that. Bob, thanks so much for joining us. It's been great to get to know you a little bit, and these segments are really, I believe, important for our current student athletes to hear from folks like yourself that were at LB, have gone through what they're going through now, and now have gone on and done various things in your lives and been successful. And you can take a few minutes and reflect back on what LB was like and what it meant to you. And so that's kind of what these segments are about. And we hope that we can spark some questions and get some good discussion going. And what we're going to do, and I know you're aware of this, Robin, I'm going to invite you to come on camera because Robin, Andrea, our assistant women's basketball coach, worked with Bob a number of years ago, and we thought that would be the perfect opportunity to have a little Q&A and interview session. So I'm going to invite Robin on now to take over, and Bob, have fun, and hopefully we're going to have some great stories come out and get some questions from our student athletes. So Robin, take it away.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, Bob.
Yeah, hi, Robin. Good to see you again.
Yeah, I just have to say I'm really looking forward to having a conversation that isn't a stand-up meeting about call volume and daily revenue and retention numbers. This is going to be fun. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I won't hold you accountable for all of that. So that's great. That's great to see, by the way, the gymnasium there behind you, because when I was at Linn-Benton, we didn't have a gym. In fact, we really didn't even have a school. We had trailer houses, and that's where our classrooms were in. And the school was just starting to get built. So it was.
That leads me to the question, right? It's like, why did you, I know you had options, right? You talked to Wolf and I about it a lot, right? So why did you choose Linn-Benton?
I had a chance to, play at Pacific or Southern Oregon or OIT and some of the other colleges. And I'd kind of settled on actually going to Portland State and playing for the freshman team there with a couple of other my teammates. I played high school basketball at Wilson High School in Portland, and was going to go to Portland State and had some success against one of the other high schools in town, Madison High School. And it turned out that Madison was where Dick McLean, who became the first athletic director, coached baseball, and Butch Kempton was their basketball coach. And for some reason, I think they saw some potential in me. And so it was, July before starting school in September, and Butch Kempton called me and wanted to talk to me and took me out a couple of times and talked to me about helping him start the Linn-Benton program from the ground up, because they never had a program before, and to come down from Portland down to Albany to help him establish the program. And so I thought about it and thought, well, it'd be kind of nice to get away from home. But I think the opportunity to help start something from the ground up was probably the first of my entrepreneurial endeavors, certainly, to start something like that and to build it and see it grow and be a part of something like that. And the fact that Coach Kempton wanted me, and the coach at Portland State kind of knew of me, but really hadn't reached out. And so you always want to go where you're wanted. And it was a great decision, obviously. So just 2 months later, I moved down to Albany and away from home for the first time, and got started at Linn-Benton.
Well, despite maybe the interesting facilities, and you told me before this that you were playing in different high school gyms and such, I'm not really there, right? But we have one now, just in case you were concerned. But so how did, because I know you wear it on your sleeve, right? Your athletic career. How did that help you going from that experience where you were building something brand new? You had there was no track record to base your decision off of, right? how did you use that as you went on to University of Oregon, right? You transferred to U of O.
Right. So a couple of things. Number one, it's always important to understand why you make certain decisions. And the key question there is why. Why before a how or a what. And the reason why I went to Linn-Benton, number one, was athletically. I felt like I was a late bloomer in high school, really hadn't reached my potential. And like a lot of athletes at Linn-Benton, I'm sure they feel the same way. It really gave me an opportunity to see just how far I could take my basketball career and pursue that. And secondly, it gave me a great chance from an academic standpoint to get all my really core requirements out of the way, English, math, all the basics, get it out of the way at community college level so that I could clear the slate and concentrate on upper division business courses than when I got to the University of Oregon. So that was the why Linn-Benton, and it prepared me extremely well then for the University of Oregon. And going down there, I actually looked at possibly walking on for the basketball program at Oregon, but turned out they recruited one of the best freshman classes in Oregon history. And I would have sat the bench, and again, making decisions that, impact your life. I was good enough to sit the bench at Oregon, but it wasn't going to be worth putting in the effort for 2 more years athletically. And so I decided to concentrate on my academic background, my business degree, and maximize that, and just play recreational basketball after that. Having been first team All-State junior college my sophomore year at Linn-Benton, felt that had kind of peaked at my own career. And having been captain of the team my sophomore year, I think reinforced in my mind the decision to get into management and take on that responsibility, not just of the team, but teams in a business sense. And so Linn-Benton was a great foundation for the future in that regard.
Well, so, and that was something I wanted to ask you about, right? Because you used to talk to us a lot about being ready and willing to accept additional responsibility when the opportunity arose. And so, like, it was always that question. I know Wolf and I used to talk about it a lot when you weren't in the room. It's like, okay, how do we know we're ready to do it, right? You're asking us to run this department, and we've done things similar, right? But we've never done it before. So how did you learn, right, that how to recognize an opportunity that you felt like you could take on even when you hadn't done it before? And what role you obviously did coming to Linn-Benton, right? So how did you get to that place that you could feel confident taking on something like that?
Well, I think having success breeds confidence. And when you've had the opportunity to take some risks, risk of going down to Linn-Benton, risk in pursuing your athletic career or whatever, the academics involved, and you get rewarded for those risks, and that's reinforced, that confidence you can carry with you. And I'm a big believer that your future is an attitude, basically. And if you have the attitude that you're going to take control of your future and proactively go after it and work towards that, as opposed to letting the future dictate you, where you let everything come to you and you just kind of go along with it, and you kind of define your future based on just reacting to what's in front of you. That didn't work so well. So understanding proactively taking on your future, I think, was really, really key. So kind of the idea that next man up or next woman up, taking on responsibility and working towards the next position up, always being prepared for the next promotion up, was, again, started in sports and then served me well when you get into your business career as well. So.
Well, so that was the other thing too, is like you hear the success breeds confidence, right? And that's true. But the thing that I guess is fascinating to me is that you've unquestionably had success in greater and greater roles, right? I know the serial entrepreneur thing is funny, but it's true, right? And you've had this history of taking over companies and building companies and those kinds of things. But they're so dramatically different, right? For those of us that, like, I could sit back and say, well, I was a coach of a team and I had some success here, but how do I know that that's going to translate? And how do I attribute my confidence, right? When I look at, oh, I'm going to run a team of salespeople now, or I'm going to run a team of sales support people now, or whatever it is. What gave you that confidence in yourself, or that you were able to recognize the similarities enough that you were able to continue to be successful when you jumped into places that you just didn't have a ton of information maybe at the beginning until you got in?
Yeah, that's it's an interesting question. I kind of look, I reflect back on it. I look at it as pole vaulting, where you continuously set the high bar higher, and you hit one height, and you get over the bar, and then you've always got to set the bar a little higher, and then try and achieve that height, and you keep moving forward. So you go from Linn-Benton, you go to University of Oregon, bachelor's degree, you get out, get your first job, and I got promoted 5 times in the first 7 years out of college. And then, you can't always predict where your career is going to take you. What you try and do is continuously learn and continuously take on more responsibility and learn new skills that then prepare you for ever greater challenges. And I always sought those challenges. And part of it might be a little bit of ego, Rob, that I always felt that I was better able to work at that next job than anybody else around me, and was better prepared for it, and really wanted that responsibility. I craved that success. And so I set a goal of being a director of human resources by age 30. I did it at 29. I set a goal of being a vice president by 35. I was a vice president by 32. Was a CEO before the age of 40. And CEO of 5 companies, 4 of which had successful liquidity events. In addition to that, sought positions where I was a leader amongst leaders, which drove me. And so chairman of the Oregon Council, the American Electronics Association, president of the Association for Corporate Growth, and chairman of the Oregon Entrepreneurial Network, all of which I was doing at the same time that I was running companies, and just seeking more responsibility and more challenges out in front of me, raising that pole vault high bar constantly.
So how do you, this is the thing that I still struggle with personally, and I know our athletes probably do too, is how do you, when you feel like you have more that you can give, right? Or that you're capable of more than is being asked of you, what are the things that you have to be doing to display that, right, to the person that has to make the decision? Because you can't just say, well, I want to be a vice president by 35, so I'm going to choose to be the vice president at 34 or whatever, right? And I accomplished my goal. Somebody has to see that in you and give it to you. So how did you go about communicating that to the people that had to make the decision, right? I'm thinking about maybe athletes that are looking for more playing time, or they're looking for more responsibility, or they're looking for, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. And everybody at every level, whether it's in sports or business or whatever you're doing, there's always someone above you that's watching and observing, and you're having to prove yourself and perform to your best at all times. And so I think, we talked about unfair competitive advantages, but I would say there's probably, 5 or 6 things I'd offer up. Number one, I made sure that I worked harder than my peers. If they wanted to work their 40 hours a week, I was working 60 plus hours a week or more. I would make sure that I would come to work before my boss, and I would work after my boss had left for the evening, so that they could see that I was making as much of a commitment or more than they were. Felt that I had unquestionable integrity, that the management or the coaches or whatever, they could trust me and my word with their most important assets. And that would be, their employees, their property, their data, their brand, whatever, that they could trust me with it. I always attempted to bring solutions to my boss or my coach or whatever, and not just problems. And even back at Linn-Benton, I felt like I was kind of, even though I wasn't a point guard, I was bringing suggestions back to Coach Kempton on the timeouts and stuff of what we were observing. And so bringing, real world solutions to what we were being faced with at the time. This is a little crazy and probably doesn't pertain today, but I always dress for success. I think you knew that. So I always dressed for the next promotion up because I wanted my management or my board of directors or whatever to envision me in the next position up and see me in that role. And then we're always work to try and be strategic and forward looking into the future as opposed to tactical and reacting to what was going on at the time or even lamenting what happened in the past. I always spent 90% in the windshield and 10% in the rearview mirror. So I think that served me well, just focusing on the future. And I would offer this as an athlete, knowing how to visualize, success on the court or on the baseball field or volleyball or whatever the sport is, visualize that success and visualizing how you're going to execute in certain circumstances can be used in the business setting or your work day or your life in general, visualizing success out there. And so those skill sets actually serve well for your future, no matter what you're doing. And the athletics played a role in that for sure.
So, and this is something that I never asked you before, though I did tell you I was going to ask you this. You showed an incredible amount of trust, right? In essentially your team, when we were working together. You gave some of us who had no business running it. I mean, I guess we had a little business running because we succeeded, right? We were the best in the country. But you showed a ton of trust to give us the opportunity to challenge the status quo and to be creative and not just, where others might want to micromanage because it was such an important thing. You kind of took your hands off. And that was a lesson that I took from you that was incredibly valuable. And I still, to this day, don't know how you had that kind of trust in it. But where did that come from? Your ability to kind of let us go, if you will.
Yeah. Well, number one, Robin, you're being somewhat humble here. You earned and deserved my trust. And it was based on your work performance and your values. So it's easy to give it when you can see that somebody has earned it, wants it, and will handle it with dignity. Secondly, I always wanted to treat my employees, and even when I coached my kids and all of that, I wanted to coach and to manage in a way that I wanted to be treated myself as a player or as an employer or whatever, to create a culture of success and to create a culture of excellence. And I didn't like to be micromanaged. I hated it. I always felt that, I could do far better, with results if I did it on my own. And so why would I want to micromanage or handcuff in either employees or the athletes or anybody else around me? Why would I want to do that when I myself didn't want that? So, and the other thing is, in striving towards success, we really reached for exponential growth. And in the ball fields, it's for exponential success. And certainly when you start a basketball or baseball program at Linn-Benton 50 years ago with no gyms, no ball diamonds, no school, no gyms, scratching and clawing your way up, that kind of activity, you can't do it alone. And so you learn collaboration and you learn that you've got to elevate everyone else around you to be successful, because you can't do it by yourself. So you need everybody in alignment, working towards the same goals and doing that. So I guess the last thing I would say is the greatest thrills as a manager or as a coach, I call it the intrinsic compensation, right? Is to see one of your players or your employees literally blossom, much like you did. I mean, we promoted you, I don't know, multiple times and did all that, but to see someone exceed all expectations and have the light come on, that enlightenment that comes with success and knowing that they can do so much more, that's so rewarding for both of us, that it literally is one of the greatest thrills, in 47 years in working, is to see that happen in a workplace setting or on the ball fields.
Well, for what it's worth, you were the example for me. You were the reason that I was coming into work in a 3-piece suit as a manager of 2 people.
So it's all
right?
my fault, right?
Yeah, it's definitely your fault. My Men's Warehouse bill was enormous because of you.
Well, it worked.
Yeah. But the lessons that you taught me, just from the trust that you showed, the willingness to take chances, right? It really gave me a different perspective of how to lead a team. And I will echo what you said. Some of the most enjoyable moments as a basketball coach and leading a group, in business, is watching them succeed, right? And even if they're not the leading scorer, but the fact that they have accomplished something that they've been striving for, there's nothing better than that. I mean, that's why you do it. And then the other part of that is, beating Sova to the punch at everything. That was really helpful. I appreciate that.
I call it the aha experience, just, and you see it in sports, you see it in business, see it in life. And it was very gratifying, by the way, tonight, just to see both the coaches and the players and the programs having success down at Linn-Benton. It really is very enjoyable to see. So we've all had a lot of help along the way, a lot of mentors, a lot of people that have helped us through life thus far. And so it's a chance now to give back and make a difference. And I'm looking forward to be able to do that at Linn-Benton to the extent you'll let me and help out. But Mark, my appreciation really for, number one, having a chance to speak today, but also the job you're doing at Linn-Benton and acknowledging, the 50 years there and some of the people, the alumni that have come before us, and a chance for all of us to connect and network. And as going forward as athletes and coaches, if I can be of some help, if people are looking for career help here in the Portland metropolitan area or elsewhere, and I can still help out, I'm very willing to give back and help them achieve their success.
Well, that's great. And Bob, this has just been gold and so many gems in there and literally sharing what you did. I mean, there are things that pop out, and I hope that our student athletes are really paying attention. And sometimes it's hard, to think about, how does that really apply to me? They'll be there one day and they're going to think back on some of these things. But the thing that stuck out for me, Bob, is your future is an attitude.
Right.
What a great saying. And I think if people can embrace that and really start to think about what that means, it can be very impactful.
Yeah. That attitude towards just being successful in life and just owning your own attitude every single day, bringing it to the gym or the ball diamond or the classroom or your relationships with your friends. And every day is a white canvas that you can paint your way successfully. And I call it the waterfall effect, because every decision you make then cascades into other decisions that you make that lead towards success. And you can own that. You own your attitude, you can own your future. You just have to give yourself that opportunity. And it's all about the mindset from day one.
Yep. Well, this has been great. We're up against about the end of our time here, but like we always do, now I want to invite everybody to turn their cameras on. And I know you can't see everybody all on one screen, but we'll get a whole bunch of them up there, Bob, and you'll be able to see some of these bright young faces that you didn't get to meet during their introductions. But go ahead and turn your cameras on, everybody, and let's see who's with us tonight. They're slow to, there's some of them coming. But this has been so great. And Bob, we appreciate your time. And while these virtual sessions are great, we hope that you'll come back when we can have people back to campus and we can do a social event and invite some of you back to be with us in person so we can meet you face to face. But will you be willing to do that?
Absolutely. I would love it and would embrace it. So I can't wait for that day for all of us, really. So
yeah, we will get there eventually. I before we wrap up, I just want to see, are there any questions? We'd like to invite anybody to just speak up, turn on your microphone and ask a question or comment.
Bob, I guess I had a quick question. This is Jamie Frazier.
yeah, hi, Jamie.
How important is it, or, you know, looking back, that you write down those goals? You said you had goals in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years. Did you write those down? I mean, was that important part of it?
Well, I didn't write it down at the time. I think it was just mentally an expectation I set for myself. And I think my parents too helped set some expectations, but even the coaches who would communicate that there's more that I could offer. And so, you know, I just felt driven, I guess, to proceed with it. I knew I wanted to get into business, the game of business, after the game of basketball, and to be successful with it. And I wanted to get into management specifically. And so, and I just always wanted to create more and do more and make a difference, you know, in what I was doing. And so later, I did set goals. In management, you have to. You set your goals and objectives for the budget year. You set specific goals, either on a daily or monthly basis. A day timer, I set goals every single day and check them off. And I also, later in life, was kept a gratitude journal, which was very helpful. So I broke it down into 4 areas, and every day I have this personal journal, and I would document those things that I was grateful for in general, on a macro level, the 3 things that I was grateful for that day, because every day is a gift, and 3 things that I could be of service and give back for that day, those 3 things. And then the 4th one was a mindset journal. What's my general mindset right now? Getting back to your future as an attitude. And what can I do? I always go back to the word why. Why do you get out of bed in the morning? What motivates you to jump out of bed, be passionate, and go grab the day and go do it? What is your why? And so being able to document that as part of, you know, the gratitude journal really helps, because it helps keep you kind of working towards your future, what you want to achieve and how you're doing. And so along with setting annual goals, I still set, you know, maybe it's New Year's resolutions, but I still set annual goals to this day, even though I'm semi-retired. But I think it's all about not only setting goals, but making sure you achieve those goals and the satisfaction that comes with that.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Well, this has been wonderful. Again, we're up against our hour limit, but this has been a great discussion. Really appreciate you joining us again, Bob and Robin. Great job running the interview. That was really, really fun to watch you guys go back and forth. And it looks like you got a lot out of Bob with your time with him. But I got to say, your wardrobe has gone to heck, you know.
Yeah.
you're
I tried to wear
wearing sweats every
Linn-Benton
day.
colors, by the way. I think these are the, you know,
It's the right blue,
Yeah.
or was.
Yeah. No, actually, I meant to slam Robin with that one. 'cause
Oh,
I only see
Robin.
him
Oh,
slap
okay.
every day. He talked about 3-piece suits. I've never seen that. So we'll,
Well,
You got a little-
I can't outdress the head coach, Mark.
there you go. All right, we better wrap it up. But again, thanks to everybody for being here. We'll do it again next month. Bob, thank you, and we will be in touch and hope to have you down to campus soon.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark,
All right.
and go Beaks.
All right, good job. Thank you.